Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's a football podcast. We're going over last week's games, talking all the news, and predicting next week's games. It's pretty much what you want from a football podcast, I would imagine. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the big one there is share the podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. You never know, they might even thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Are you sitting comfortably? Then yes, let us begin. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, another week of the CookieCast Podcast Network, bringing you some fantastical football updates from the world of Middlesbrough, Hull City, Nottingham Forest, and at the moment, Chelsea Football Club. Will that change? Who knows? Obviously, I can't do this alone. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see three other smiling, happy faces sat there with me. So obviously, Mr. Cook, Mr. Woodmansey, Mr. Moore. How are we all doing this week, fellas?
Oh, grand.
Delightful.
Oh, Matt's on mute.
Matt's
on mute.
That's how Matt's doing. He's like, I can't be arsed with this.
What I was saying was, every time we start the thing, a little thing says, do you want to leave the meeting or are you okay with being here? And never have I wanted to click leave the meeting more than just then.
Ah, he doesn't mean it, ladies and gentlemen.
I do.
He loves my witty repartee. So
For me it was.
Week 25 brought with it 4 games. We started the week on Friday and on Sky, as we had the week previous, where Sunderland were taking on Hull City. Now, the previous week on Friday didn't end so well from a Hull perspective. Were things better this time around, Mr. Woodmansey?
If you watch the performance, absolutely not. Did any of you guys actually see any of this?
I had it on in the background, but I was at a friend's house. So
Okay, so I will start by saying that the first half was possibly duller than 6-week-old dishwater. It was turd. It wasn't worth watching. Neither team really did much of anything, apart from Hull, who seemed to have a bee in their bonnet about let's get as many yellow cards as we possibly can. It was a weekend whereby there was a break in one half of the Premier League fixtures. So some of the Premier League referees were on their jollies away down in the Championship and in a bit of extra spends. And we got one of those on Friday night for the televised game, and he was not wrong in giving those cards, but was very happy to do so. It was like, it was the Oprah Winfrey of yellow card giving. Yeah. Just to top it off as well, not only did Hull get 5 yellow cards in the first half, they did get another 2 in the second. Like I said, the ref was fairly fair on the whole, although how is it described, I guess, these days? The tactical foul, as one team breaks away, blazes over the halfway line. Well, Regan Slater did that for us. In terms of blazed over the halfway line to be pulled back by Equa for Sunderland. Apparently that went unpunished, but when Hull did it, you have a yellow card, pal. Interestingly enough, Equa did get booked in the second half for pretty much the same thing, so therefore should he have even been on the pitch at that point. Anyway, like I say, first half was rubbish, absolutely rubbish. Couldn't have been any more rubbish if they'd have tried. But the second half got much better for Sunderland, for the most part, because Hull got absolutely battered. They had more possession. They had 15 shots across the course of the game to Hull's 2. They got 12 corners, and I'm pretty sure 8 of them were in the last 10 minutes of the match, which was just nuts. It was a barrage. However, on around the 70-minute mark, Hull got a corner when the ball went out behind the goal off Billy Sharp, so work that out as you may. And of course, when things like that go wrong, there seems to be this tendency that a team will then concede, so they have something to be extra aggrieved about. And that was just the case. So the cross comes in from the corner. It was cleared out to the wing where Tyler Morton collected it, crossed it back in, and in his second appearance for the Tigers, Fabio Carvalho on loan from Liverpool. So one Liverpool loanee crossing to another. Smashed it on the volley, slight deflection, straight in the top corner. It was going goalward anyway, so it was still given as a Carvalho goal on 71 minutes. I mentioned that Sunderland had 15 shots across the game. Only 3 of them were on target. Hull managed 2 shots for the full game, and both of those were on target. So I guess it's that age-old thing of boils down to taking your chances, and they bloody well needed to, because it's one of those occasions where Hull played badly, which hasn't happened very much of late, I'm pleased to say. But if you can play badly and win, I will absolutely take that any day of the week, and apparently on a Friday at the moment it seems to be. So
very much so. So smash and grab 1-0 Hull win. Predictions wise from the podcast, Stuart gone for a 1-0. Sunderland win with Bellingham to score, so gets no points. I had gone with a 0-0. So for about 70 odd minutes, I was on the money. No point to me. Matt had gone for a 1-1 draw, Bellingham and Carvalho to score, so gets another bonus point for the goal scorer. He's done it again, ladies and gentlemen. Captain Cook. 1-0 Hull City win. 2 points. Sadly, didn't predict the goal scorer correctly. Just get the 2 points there. So Andy with 2 points, Matt with 1, myself and Mr. Woodmansey yet to score. Our second game of the week saw my boys, Middlesbrough, taking on Rotherham United. And this one started in typical Borough fashion. At home, well, but certainly at home. First half opens up. Borough have most of the possession, have most of the chances of putting the team on the back foot for the majority of the game. But as is always the case, struggle to break them down. Played out that way. There was a couple of chances. I remember from the highlight seeing that Sam Greenwood had a shot from a corner where the ball was played out to him on the edge of the box. He had a bit of a rasping drive that the keeper had to parry away. And as always seems to be the case with Borough, they don't take their chances and were punished in the second half when a ball was cleared upfield in the path of ex-Borough striker Jordan Hugel, who slid the ball into the path of, I believe, ex-Nottingham Forest player Cafu, who plays for Rotherham United now, who found himself on the edge of the box on the left-hand side, who very, very calmly and composedly slipped the ball under the Borough keeper Tom Glover to make it 1-0 to Rotherham. So obviously Borough on the back foot there. They did manage to equalise, however, a little bit later in the second half when Hayden Hackney played a ball into Morgan Rogers on the edge of the box. Rogers controlled the ball and then managed to back heel it into the path of Marcus Force, who would come on early in the first half for an injury to Isaiah Jones, which would then subsequently keep them out of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Chelsea, which we'll come on to talk about in a few moments. But Force kept his composure and smashed the ball past the Rotherham goalkeeper for 1-1. And that's how it stayed, unfortunately, from a Borough perspective. Not really ideal. Rotherham seem to have become a team that they very much struggled to break down in the last couple of games. That's 4 games on the spin now where they've not been able to beat them. becoming a bit of a bogey side, unfortunately. And from a podcast perspective, a bogey side, very much a bogey game. Everyone had gone for a Middlesbrough win. No one had even given Rotherham a goal in that particular score. Matt had 1-0 Greenwood, Stu had 2-0 Crooks and Rodgers, Andy had 2-0 Rodgers and Crooks, I had 3-0 Rodgers, Greenwood and Fours. So I do manage to get myself a bonus point for the goal scoring, but no points for anything else in that one. So I'm off the mark. Just Stu left to score after 2 games. Our third game of the week took us to London, where Brentford were taking on Nottingham Forest. I say Brentford, the way that everyone was making this up in the lead up to the game, it seemed as though it was Ivan Toney taking on Nottingham Forest entirely on his own. Was that the case, Matt?
Or Jesus Christ himself had descended to take the form of Ivan Toney to score goals for Brentford and save us all as well. You know, he's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy, I think, is to use the phrase from something else. I mean, the build-up to the game was absolutely ridiculous. You would have thought... I think if a player would have... If he, kind of referring to one of our other podcasts, if both of his cruciate ligaments in both legs, ACLs, MCLs, BCLs, whatever they got there, had all exploded all in one catastrophic moment, then yeah, fair enough. Give him this week of interviews to say, oh yeah, I'm definitely staying at the club, and unless a big club comes in for me, and then I might have to go because I want to further my career, and to play in front of 17,000 people isn't really the pinnacle of my career. To then the whole kind of Sky thing around him was absolutely ridiculous. And kind of contrast that, of course I'm going to blow the trumpet of a player of my own club, but contrast that with Harry Toffolo, who it came out had placed amongst his bets. His bets were 25 pence accumulators, generally betting on his own side to win. So it wasn't even like he was throwing games kind of thing, who's been like apologetic, contrite, has joined a mental health kind of initiative with Forest, and like said how dark it was, and like how it'd been awful for his kids to go to school, and for like obviously kids had said, obviously the kids that were going to speak to his kids obviously had twat parents that said, oh, go and have a go at Toffolo's kids because his dad's a cheating bets on football. But it's kind of like said it was a really dark time. No. So yeah, the game started really well for Forest. Danilo scored in the 4th minute with a quite wonderful volley which looped into the right-hand corner of the goal, as it were. I think Forest kind of settled in a little bit, then gave a free kick away on the edge of the box. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard the ridiculous kind of debate about this. The amount of ex-players that are like, oh, it's just clever. It's cheating because it's the same way as, when like you're marking your work at school and you're marking in a certain colour pen, but then you sneakily get the colour pen that you were using to do your work. That's what he did when he moved the ball a yard, maybe 2, and then nicked a bit of the ref's foam thing to go, I didn't move the ball, this is definitely where the line was, kind of thing. Now, that bit's cheating, or gamesmanship, or clever, or whatever, Alan Shearer, Gary Neville, whichever twat has decided that they've up Ivan Toney's arse this week. The second bit is, it is thoroughly on Forest that he got away with it. Because stood in the wall is someone we regularly refer to as shithouse. Why was he not going and stood in front of the ball straight away? I'm sorry, the moment you see him move the ball, you go and stand on it and go to the ref, hang on a minute, he's moved the ball here. You know, and just don't let him take the free kick. Yes, they needed to move the wall wasn't good enough, they should have moved the wall, all that kind of thing, but Forest should have kicked up a stink about that. Not kicked up a stink after the game like they did right into the PGMOL, or whatever they are. Yeah.
Are we not in the realms of this was a league game, so therefore aren't there a team of elves with screens that can spot clear and obvious errors?
They're not allowed to do anything about that.
Oh, that is so wrong though. Like,
yeah, but so Forest did write to the match officials association, asking them why was nothing done about it, and they were
because they had him to score on their bet. That's why.
Well, but this is the thing. It's like now you're seeing these articles going, clubs writing to and complaining to the match officials about it is setting a dangerous precedent. What, that they might get decisions right? Is that what the dangerous precedent's going to be? That they actually kind of take some care and attention to make sure they get the result, the decisions right. You know, it's just what gets me is that the referee will have a shit fit if someone dares to tap a rolling ball 5 yards to his teammate in his own half, but we can't take that care and attention to make sure that a guy that's a very dangerous free kick taker is actually taking the free kick from the spot where it was actually blown. It was just, and this whole ex-referee thing on telly is the biggest waste of time, because they just sit there and go, yeah, they were right. So either somebody's got in their ear and said, you better not go on fucking telly and say that we've been doing things wrong, or they're just they're just apologising, being apologetic for people getting things wrong. The only thing worse than former officials apologising for their current officials on telly is Mark Clattenburg on that new version of Gladiators.
Excellent. He can't even do a good Scottish accent to get him kicked off, can he, to be fair?
No, honestly, it's terrible. So yeah, Ivan Toney equalised for Brentford. Yeah, poor wall, poor goalkeeping. It's something underlying under Forest that the goalkeepers aren't very good. Then moving to second half, Ben Mee scored a header. There's been a lot of criticism of the defending of it. I just thought it was a good header. I just saw it. I thought that's a good header. That, you know, there's not much you can do about. He's got a run to head it, and Danilo's got a standing start. Well, he's already taller than him, and he's got a run and jump ahead of him. I didn't really have that much of it. Sorry, Murillo. Forrest came back pretty quickly with a reply from Chris Wood. A nice glancing header. He's in really good form. And then, but annoyingly, Neil Mopey scored the winner. Again, VAR checked it. I don't know. I don't see many balls drop from the air the way the ball dropped from his chest, the way it did, but fine. So yeah, Forest end up losing 3-2. And of course, with Forest fans being the way they are, chicken licking and all that, and the sky's falling in, it's a disaster. Which, to be honest, I think 3-2 away at Brentford, with all the hype that was coming with the match, is not a catastrophic result. One thing I would say is that is in a season and a half in the Premier League. That is Forest's 10th 3-2 defeat.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing from like a neutral's perspective is that, like, there's always going to be entertainment if Forest are involved, I suppose, from that perspective. From a predictions perspective, the two results that were the furthest away in terms of goals were Stew's 1-0 to Brentford with Toney to score, so he gets himself 2 points. Andy had 1-0 Forest, so no result, but did have Wood to score, so he gets himself a bonus point for the goal scorer. I had a 2-1 Forest win, So didn't get the result right, but I did have Tony, Wood, and Danilo to score. So I got myself 3 points for that. Matt, however, had obviously taken Andy's Nostradamus glasses and had predicted a 3-2 Brentford win. He also had Tony and Wood to score in the game, so that was himself 4 points for this particular game. So, Stu finally off the mark with 2 points. Andy has 3 for the week. I have 4, and Matt is in the lead with 5. Our final game of the week saw Chelsea, technically Mr. Cook's team, take on Middlesbrough. Technically my team. Not technically. I'm not getting away from it, am I? They're clearly my team.
100% your team.
And sadly, you can't abandon your boys when they're at their lowest. And that probably was about 40 minutes into this game, sadly, as Middlesbrough went into this game knowing it was probably their most important game since they played Brighton on the last day of the 2015-16 season, knowing that a draw would see them promoted to the Premier League. They went into this one knowing that a draw, or anything other than a Chelsea victory, would send them through to their first final since the UEFA Cup final of 2006. Sadly, it wasn't to be. They started off the game quite well, actually. They set the tempo for about 3 minutes, and Chelsea somewhat on the back foot. Everything was going according to plan until around the 10th minute, when Chelsea opened the scoring through a very, very unfortunate Johnny Howson own goal. Howson was playing in a sort of a hybrid holding midfield / auxiliary centre-half role, and in trying to play 2 roles, he kind of played neither.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They like Gary Neville picked up on that on the match commentary as well, and
yeah,
it seemed in theory it's quite a simple thing in the sense of when we're going forward, you're not in defence. When we're defending the ball, you drop back and help out, and he just found himself time and time again leaving that gap, and pretty much just spent the first half exposing them, and topped that off from the very beginning by a lovely finish into the bottom left-hand corner, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that was the first goal. That obviously made the tie level. 1 became 2 after 29 minutes when Enzo Fernandez found himself free in the box, which was ironic, as I'm pretty sure Johnny Howson was told to stick to him like glue. And that was 2-1. Chelsea ahead in the tie. 2 very quickly became 3 on 36 minutes when Axel the Sassy was played through on the right hand side of the box and rather leathered it past the goalkeeper to make it 3-2. To make it 3-2, I wish it was 3-2. To make it 3-0 on the night, 3-1 on aggregate. 3 became 4 when Borough were punished for trying to play out from the back again for what felt like the third or fourth time of the evening. Hayden Hackney received the ball from Dan Barlasser, tried to play it back to Barlasser, who seemed to forget what you're supposed to do with your legs, and decided to do some sort of gymnastics. Can't really explain it. Cole Palmer ended up with the ball and managed to tuck it away, which he didn't do in the first leg whilst inside the box, to make it 4-0. The tie was pretty much over at 3, so it was definitely over at 4, but we did manage to get into half-time at 4. Couple of changes at half-time for either side. It kept it at bay for a little bit longer. Cole Palmer added a 5th in the 77th minute. Noni Madueke made it 6 in the 81st minute.
By the way that he was making out at that point, though, you'd think he was being held together by tape and spit.
He had been writhing on the floor as if he'd been separated from his limbs by, I don't know, like a wheat thresher or something like that.
I'm thinking more of a blunt teaspoon, by the way he was going.
Well, yeah, but, you know. But yeah, Midweek made it when it's 6, which at the time was the heaviest second leg League Cup defeat in history. But Middlesbrough managed to get a goal back. Morgan Rogers with, I would say that as Matt pointed out in our little group chat, probably the finish of the goal of the game. Morgan Rogers picked the ball up on the left hand side, ran at the defender, cut inside, and with very little backlift, just angled the ball into the bottom right corner of the net, past the keeper, gave the keeper no chance. Added another couple of £1 million onto his asking price that Aston Villa are sniffing around after him. So yes, that's where the game finished. I've written in my book, Chelsea 6, Middlesbrough 1, and in brackets, sob.
Chelsea
sod.
Chelsea thing is, it just shows how many players they've signed, because I did not, like, some of the names popped up and I was like, nope, did not know they played for them. I didn't know who they were for starters, and also didn't know that they played for them.
The guy with the shit hair in the middle was Raheem Sterling, former England player. Definitely not trying to do a different Craig David hairstyle every time he turns up.
Yeah. Obviously not the way that all the Borough fans had envisaged this one going. I think you kind of have to roll your hands up at times and just say you were beaten by a better team. They very much played into that by giving the ball away very, very carelessly on several occasions in their own half. Yeah, fair enough. You can get away with it once. Once you've not got away with it twice, you need to adapt. You need to adopt your approach and just change the way that you play out. Fair enough. You can't always just go and absolutely braid the ball upfield. But maybe every now and again, don't put your centre half under absolute pressure when you've got Raheem Sterling breathing down his neck and he's facing your own goal. Maybe just a thought. Like I said, not the way that every Borough fan wanted the game to end. It was a great cup run. They got to the semi-final of the League Cup.
I think it's difficult when the cost of the team that you're playing could literally buy your whole club.
Yeah,
is that unfair? I don't know if that's a bit unfair. Like that, you know, the price of the talent on their 11. Yeah, you know.
Well,
as I said,
let's put it this way: they're two in midfield of Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo combined probably cost what Middlesbrough have spent on transfers this decade or in the last 10 years.
Like I said, I think I said last night, the price of your squad would probably buy the left nut of Enzo Fernandez.
Yes, I'll just go through the podcast predictions. Andy was the most optimistic, as is always the case. He had gone with a 1-0 Middlesbrough win. Sadly, no points for him. Had gone with 4s to get the goal. Stuart gone for a 2-0 win, Sterling and Palmer. So gets a bonus point for the Palmer goal. Myself and Matt had both gone for 3-1 Chelsea wins. We both picked 4s as the Middlesbrough goal scorer. I had Palmer, Sterling and Fernandez, so 2 bonus points for me. Matt had Sterling, Gallagher and Palmer, so just gets the 1 bonus point. So, 3 points for me, 2 points apiece for Stuart and Matt, 0 points for Andy, which means that as rounding out the week, Andy, 3 points from 4 games. Stu, 4 points from 4 games. Myself and Matt tied 7 points from 4 games. What that does mean, ladies and gentlemen, is we've come to the end of another book. What? You've been good, sir. I'll stick you in the pile. We get fresh book for week 26. I know what you're thinking. You want me to open this up right now? No. We're going to take a little break before I open this puppy up and we get some new predictions in there. You won't need to go anywhere, though, because we'll be right back in your feed before you can say Chelsea-Liverpool AFL Cup final. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
Just just like that, we are right back at it. So, week 25 done and dusted. Week 26 brings with it 3 games, and not a single one of them contains Middlesbrough or Hull City. This is FA Cup 4th round weekend, and as we know from the previous podcasts, neither Middlesbrough nor Hull have made it this far in the competition. So we just have Nottingham Forest and Chelsea games to go through. Weekend off for me and Stu, as it were. Our first game is Friday night in Bristol, a place where Mr. Cook knows all too well. I don't think he's ever been. Bristol City versus Nottingham Forest. It is obviously Mr. Matthew Moore's team. He will go last. I'll jump in here. I've gone for a 2-1 Forest win. Wood and Danilo to score for Forest. Conway for Bristol. Stu, what have you got for this one?
Having had the misfortune of watching Bristol beat West Ham, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've got Wood for Forest, and I've got Knight for Bristol City.
So when you said I've got Wood, I didn't know if you were giving us your prediction or just announcing it to the world.
Trouser status.
I mean, it's a reason. It's a reason to get yourselves on YouTube and watch along, if nothing else.
100%. Andrew?
I have got written down 0-2, so Forest to win by 2 goals. I also have Wood. And I have my favourite Simpsons character, Hudson Odoi.
That's a new one on me. Go on, Matt, how do you see this one playing out? Do you see progression in the cup or not?
No. I've gone for a 2-1 Bristol City win. I just think there's a lot of prima donnas in the Forest team, and they think they're going to turn up. I think they'll think they're going to turn up at Bristol City and just win, which they won't. I've gone for Conway and Gardner Hickman for Bristol City, and also I've picked Wood for Forest.
For those keeping score, that is a Wood clean sweep, otherwise known as a Forest. Our second game takes us to Chelsea. Andrew's team. Boo! Boo that boo! Boo! Versus Aston Villa. Technically, had Borough pulled their finger out, this would have been Chelsea versus Middlesbrough for the second time in the space of 4 days. I don't think I could have taken that beating more. So thanks Villa. Thanks for putting this out of our misery. Andy's team, therefore he will go last. Matt, what have you got for Chelsea Villa?
I've gone for a similar kind of thing. Chelsea 2, Villa 1. It's not very often I'll cheer them. I've got Sterling and Palmer for Chelsea and Watkins for Villa. It's not very often that I'll cheer for Villa, but I hope Villa win, because Chelsea are slowly climbing up on their dislike list.
It's amazing what spending £1 billion will do to fellow football fans. Stu, what have you got for Chelsea Villa?
I've actually got the same result as my previous prediction, so a 1-1 draw. I've got Fernandes for Chelsea, and I don't like predicting this guy, but he's got a knack for the shithousery, so from that you may guess I have picked McGinn.
What, is he going to use his tremendously massive arse to just deflect it into the goal or something?
Honestly, he is one of I find the most irritating footballers to watch. He seems to have no natural coordination whatsoever, but yet somehow it just works.
Yes, I would agree on that one. Sadly, I would have him in the Borough team in a heartbeat. So we've had a Chelsea win, we've had a draw. I'll go for the Villa win then. I've got 2-1 Villa. Watkins and Douglas Luiz to score for the Villa. I've also got Palmer to get the Chelsea goal. Andy, how do you see this one panning out for your new boys in blue?
A 2-0 win.
Goals from
Sterling and Palmer, same as MacLeod.
Sterling and Palmer getting an awful lot of love on the podcast. Our third and final game of the week takes us back into the Premier League and takes us to the side of the River Trent, where Nottingham Forest will be taking on Arsenal. I foresee this being a slightly tougher game than Bristol City, and accordingly I have gone for a 3-0 Arsenal win, sadly. I've gone for Martinelli, Saka and Nketiah to get the Arsenal goals. Andy, what have you got for Forest versus the Arsenal?
Just a 1-0 win to the Forest.
Let me guess. Does your goal scorer have a shavings sort of theme to him?
I've been reliably informed that Gibbs White is available to pick for the game.
Well,
so I have selected said Gibbs White.
let's hope he's back in the team and, more importantly, back amongst the goals. Stu?
I have got a Forest 1, Arsenal 2 outcome on my sheet. I've got Dominguez for Forest. And,
Has been amongst the goals recently, to be fair. That's not a bad shout.
and for Ars, I have got Odegaard and Saka.
Odegaard, very much the complete opposite of Dominguez in that he has not been amongst the goals recently. Was your second goal scorer Saka there?
It was, yeah, but we know why I picked Odegaard, because it's that rule that we always discuss of if you're in shit form and you haven't scored for a while, come and see one of our teams.
Definitely thought you were going for old boy rule. I was like, I must have missed when Martin Odegaard had that spell. Last prediction of the week. Matt, give us your thoughts on Forest versus Arsenal.
I've gone for a 3-1 Arsenal win. I just think the Africa Cup of Nations has hit us particularly bad. The Ivory Coast scraping through is a bit of a disaster for Forest because we've got three players that are with them. But yeah, so I've gone Dominguez to score for Forest, Jesus, Saka and Martinelli to score for Arsenal. Yeah, I think there'll be a level of revenge. They seem to, obviously they gave Palace a pasting at the weekend as well.
They certainly did. That one, because I did watch that game, it almost seemed as if it was a bit inflated. Martinelli got 2 in injury time when Palace were a bit on the ropes, but yeah, Palace don't look good at the minute. So hopefully if Forest can play them at some point in the near future, they might be able to pick up some points. But
I think they are upcoming, I think.
That puts the end to our predictions for this week, ladies and gentlemen. There is no transfer news from a Middlesbrough perspective. Has there been any incomings or outgoings at the City ground, Mr. Moore?
Emmanuel Dennis. I mean, it's been presented as he's signed from the club that he was at in Turkey to Watford, but I'd read somewhere else that his loan had been terminated at said Turkish club, and he was on his way back to Forest, and we sent him right back. It's kind of gone. It's like he's just done a complete reverse. They sent him back to us, and we've gone. You know what, mate? Just keep on going back to Watford because we don't need it here anymore. So he's gone to Watford for the rest of the season. So yeah, that's the only outgoing. There's been like some fringe players. Ollie Hammond has joined Oldham Athletic, but that won't be very much because he was in and around the first team, but not properly playing. So if they've got $100,000 for him, I'd be surprised.
Fair enough. Which leaves us with Hull City, who I'm reliably informed have made an addition.
Yeah, we for some reason are storing up goalkeepers. We have signed a brand new goalkeeper. It was a few days ago now, but the official release says Hull City are delighted to announce the signing of Croatian goalkeeper Ivo Pandor, or Panda, depending on how you pronounce it, Pandur, from Fortuna Sittard for an undisclosed fee. He's a 23-year-old Croatian keeper. Played in Italy, as well as his home country. Eredivisie was his last team we're in, so is that the Dutch league?
Correct.
So yeah, he's been around a little bit. According to the release, is somebody who Rossini has been looking at for, I quote, a long time. But that means we've now got also Ingram, Timothy Lotutala, and one of the youth team guys, and Pandor. So I would suggest this possibly opens the door for one of those to leave. Obviously, my money would be on Ingram, which he'll be one of the club's probably longest serving players at the moment, I would suggest. However, being as he is a goalkeeper, and it's always been, Ingram's been a decent shot stopper, but crap at distribution. And obviously now that the team's going the way it is with Rossini and everything has to be played out from the back, that kind of puts him on the back foot straight off there. But seemingly this season, when we've needed Ingram to step in and step up, even his shot stopping has turned from shot stopper to headless chicken flapping around like an absolute lunatic. So it's not boding well for the lad. I would suggest he will probably be out somewhere by the end of the transfer window now.
Watch this space. We don't normally talk about rumours, but I will mention this one that came up today. Apparently, this is Hull based as well. Apparently, they're in talks to sign Ryan Giles from Luton. That name should be familiar with people who listen to the podcast last season. That was the left back that Middlesbrough had on loan from Wolves for the season, who contributed what can only be described as a metric fuck ton of assists. So would probably tick two boxes for Hull there, as I believe you have on numerous occasions on the podcast been crying out for a left back.
Yep. I mean, there was a point when the goalkeeper signing was announced that I did wonder if he could play at left back just in case. But
so watch your space. Obviously, if that one goes through, you can come to yours truly for a bit of a insight into what you might be expecting from young Gilo. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything else to report, ladies or gents? In that case, as usual, thank you to these three gentlemen for joining me to take you through the goings-on at their clubs. Join us again next week where we'll tear it all down and go through it all again. But until then, take care of yourselves, make sure you look out for each other, and we'll see you in about a week's time. Tatty bye for now.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone, another week of games gone, another week of games to come, to look forward to. Absolutely. Before we go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.